All right, 8th graders, this is a continuation of your quiz review for Tuesday. So I'm going to go over number 6 now. It says reflect the image over the y-axis. We have to then label our image with prime notation, A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. And you have to use a straight edge on your quiz. I don't have a straight edge at home, so we're going to work with me and we're going to be like, okay, Mrs. Y did her best. All right. So I'm going to go here. I know I have to reflect over the y-axis. So I know Mrs. Gandro encourages, and there's a good chance that Mrs. Van Dyke and Miss Pearson also do. I just push into Miss Gandro's room a whole lot more often, so I get to see what her kids are doing. Ooh. So Miss Gandro would first have you highlight the axis you were going over to make sure your brain was ready and set to decide where the image would be. So she has you highlight the axis so you can say, well, here's my mirror. If I'm physically looking into the mirror here and I'm in the first quadrant, well, if this is where my mirror is, my image is going to be somewhere over here in the second quadrant. So she always likes to preset your brain with that. So now that we know we're reflecting over the y-axis, there's a few options. I know for some of my students, they just like to count the boxes. So they say, okay, if A is on 2 to the right of the y-axis, then A prime will be 2 to the left of the y-axis. And then they put their A prime right there. And they make sure they label to show where the new A will be. The labeling is important because if you just have a new rectangle over here, your teacher's not going to know where the new A is, so they're not going to know, did they do a reflection or did they do a translation? So then they take a look at B and they say, okay, B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the right. So they say, all right, B prime will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the left of that mirror line. Then they label that B prime. Then they say C. C is 2 to the right. C prime will be 2 to the left. They label that C prime. And D. D is 8 to the right. So D prime is going to be 8 to the left. And they label that D prime. Then they use a straight edge and connect things back up. Something that's not asked here, but is a nice check for yourself. If you take a look and you say AB, I'm just going to erase a couple of these little items. If you take a look here and you say AB, how long is AB? AB is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then A prime, B prime had better be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If it's not the same exact measure, something has gone awry. If you don't have a rectangle here, something has gone awry. If this is 1, 2, 3, 4, then guess what? A prime, C prime had better be 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, you could count here. This would be 6. This would still be 6. This would still be 4. This would still be 4. Those rectangles need to be congruent. It means if you have 24 squares inside here for the area, there had better be 24 squares inside here for the area. If the distance around the outer edge here is 6, 10, 16, 20, then the distance around the outer edge here is also 20. Area remains the same. Perimeter remains the same. Side length remains the same. Angles remain the same. If angle A is 90 degrees, A prime is 90 degrees. All right? There's so much that remains the same. But in reflections, what's the only thing that changes? Orientation. So reflections do not preserve orientation. Okay? They actually have opposite orientation. B is to the right on this figure, but guess what? B is on the left-hand side over here. It has opposite orientation. This one goes A, moving around it, A to B to D to C. This one doesn't go A to B to D to C. It actually, if I moved around, goes A to C to D to B. Opposite orientation. Reflections, that's the one translation we do, or I'm sorry, the one transformation we do that does not preserve orientation. Alrighty, bro. Let's see. So we've done what they asked us to do for part A. Let's look at part B. Whew, now we're going to translate it. All right, so now we're going to translate it. I also want to just remind you over the y-axis, some of you just really like the rules. Over the y-axis, if you have x, y, then all you do is change the sign of x, keep the sign of y. Y-axis, y gets to stay the same. So for instance, like let's look at letter B, point B. So point B is 8, 5, 8, 5. Then I'm guaranteed B prime, we just change the sign of x and we get to keep the sign of y. So let's just check, is that -8, +5? It sure is, because that's the rule for reflecting over the y-axis. So you can either count boxes to do it, or you can apply the rule. All right, now we have to translate. Are we translating the new one? Yep. Now we're going to translate this new figure. It says translate A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime under the translation x + 7, y - 8. Label your new figure with double primes. Okay. So now we have to take A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. We have to start at our original figure, right? And then we have to move every one of those corners. 7 to the right and 8 down. Okay, 7 to the right, 8 down. All right. So I'm going to just start with corner C prime. Doesn't matter what corner I start with, but I'm going to move it 7 right, 8 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down. I just want to make sure I really moved it 8 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It appears to me as though I moved it 8 down, and I would label that C double prime. I have to tell you, if you want to just follow the rule here, if you start with C prime, sorry, if we start with C prime of -2, 1, -2, 1, we could do what the translation rule tells us to do. 7 to the right means we take our x value and we'd add 7 to it. -2 + 7. -2 + 7 is a +5. And then we'd have to subtract 8 from the y. If you're moving down, you're subtracting. So you go to your y coordinate and you would subtract 8 from that y coordinate. 1 - 8 is -7. Just a nice little check for yourself. So you're 5 to the right, 7 down, 5, -7. Good. All right, let's move the rest of those points. Really, once I have a point, I don't even have to move an additional point if I don't want to, because I know from C prime to D prime, it's 6 over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over. So I'm guaranteed D double prime, sorry, is going to end right here. We can check that. 7 to the right, 8 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down. Oh yeah, there's D double prime. I know that B double prime has to be 4 above D double prime. 1, 2, 3, 4 above, because it stays congruent. Side lengths are going to stay the same. But I could take my B prime and move it 7 right, 8 down, and I'm going to guarantee you I'm going to land right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right, and then 8 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. I could count 6 across, and I know exactly where A is going to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across. A double prime has to be there because I know the distance here remains 6. And you'll see this distance here remains 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But again, I could go 7 right, 8 down from A prime also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down. Alrighty, Roo. There's my double primes. You have to label it double prime because now they need to know. Oops. Can't just put a prime on it because the prime was already taken up here. So that's why they switched to double primes. All right. I hope that helps on that one. State the properties of an image that are preserved under a translation. Be as specific as you can. Okay, under a translation, we know the area remains the same. We know the perimeter remains the same. We know the side lengths. Or sometimes you say distance remains the same. Okay, angle measures remains the same. I can tell you orientation. For translations, orientation remains the same. I can also tell you parallelism. Parallelism remains the same. If on A prime, B prime, A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime, if A prime, B prime is parallel to D prime, C prime, even after I translate, A double prime, B double prime must still be parallel to D double prime, C double prime. Orientation remains the same with translations. If A prime is in the upper right-hand corner of the rectangle, even after I translate it, it's going to be in the upper right-hand corner of the rectangle. This goes A to C to D to B. Still going A to C to D to B. Orientation remains the same in translations, but not in reflections. We talked about that earlier. All right, let's see what the last type question on the test is. Name a property that is preserved under translations, but not under reflections. Oh, okay. That would be orientation. Good. All right, so I hope that helps. That's pretty much what Tuesday's quiz is going to look like. So for anybody who gets a little bit anxious about quizzes or just likes a preset because they're like, I'm nervous, I'm not sure what's going to happen on that quiz, there's no guessing game. Your teachers don't try to make this, a mystery. This is exactly what you're going to be asked about on Tuesday. I hope that helped. Sorry about this. Okay, the struggle is real today. The struggle is real.